First of all, I thank you for the invitation and thank you to Enterprise M3 because what I'm about to tell you is also thanks to them. Very quickly about developments. This little access road looks minor, irrelevant, but that transformed a non-performing private sector industrial estate from 90% vacancies to 90% full within 1 year of that road being completed. And Kath will be pleased I've nearly paid her back. So this is the major thing going on now in the town centre. Very similar to Catherine's, just gone a bit higher. So that's what we're doing. So we've had £11 million towards doing highway infrastructure. That is pretty well on the way to being implemented. And what I'm just going to flash through is a few images of what infrastructure improvements enable you to do in a place if you line up the behaviours of the place and business with the infrastructure investment rather than waiting for the infrastructure to come last. So in addition to the 11 million from Enterprise M3, we put 12.5 million specifically in ourselves to the highway network, plus another 15 million pounds into the rest of the public realm. So that's what we're committed to. Now that's a view of Woking looking south. Guildford's kind of down there somewhere, and so are the rest of you. That's looking up to the Shard, which is kind of up there somewhere. And that's the plan for Woking in the future. A more sustainable future, not like Poundbury, but more like Singapore. So our journey to that, and Alan, thank you for the kind mention, but sustainability is one of our critical things about our population loves our green infrastructure, so cherishing that when you got 63% of your borough green belt is quite important. So the Lightbox is a museum and art gallery for culture. WWF UK headquarters built opposite it. We've gone round, just changed. And anybody of you been to Woking? In the past and recently? Past? It was naff, wasn't it, really? I had that discussion with M&S and said, so are their stores, but didn't matter about that. The thing is, there's nothing in our town we can't knock down except the church. So that's what we're working on. So improving the centre, very useful public amenity, a library, move that to the back, put a restaurant in front. More people use the library after we put the restaurant in the front than did before. So it's, yeah, library people didn't like it much, but my county colleagues were happy. This was our shopping centre. That's what it used to look like. That is what it looks like now. Again, look like now. We had an old market site. I needed to build on it, so we took there's a 33 kV oil-filled power cable through the middle of that. Building over that's a bit iffy, so we built cabins we can move if it kind of blows up. So we haven't told the market traders that. They can complain anyway, so, but they're happy in there. So this is... we have residential above our shops, very familiar, yeah. Couldn't afford to knock it all down, too much income, so we just kind of tarted it up a bit. This was a place where we had all of our voluntary sector, community stuff. We moved them upstairs, put a restaurant downstairs, paid for the building. This is the Victoria Square, this is a council and private sector joint venture. £505 million we're directly investing in that. Borrowing is so cheap at the moment, we should just take more money. I don't understand why the Treasury don't get it, but never mind. So that's 429 apartments. The tallest one of those buildings is 34 stories, and that's the benchmark for ones to come afterwards. I'm still trying to get Network Rail to look in Lightened, because I reckon I could build 100 stories over your station. It's such a waste over railways. You know, we need to build over them, right? That's roughly what the towers will look like in that street. You saw what we'd done to the street. And this is what infrastructure does. We need people to be able to get to these places. That's a Hilton Hotel. I remember Andrew Lloyd, when we did this centre here under Enterprise M3, people were saying, well, why isn't Woking bidding for a conference centre? Why would you want to do this when you can do this 5 minutes down the train from Woking? You do it here, but we're building a conference centre, not an exhibition centre, in Hilton's Hotel. Victoria Gate, just completed by Aviva, again on the back of our infrastructure investment, private sector investment, new office space for more employment. These are things I promised when we did the road, all done. Albion House, Oh, I failed. Right, quicker. I forgot it did an alarm. I learned something. That's the first time I've used that phone doing that. Right, that's me 5 minutes. You didn't have to shout at me. Albion House, right opposite the station. I'm going to hopefully, with Andrew's help, get Jill Stone to let me get on and do the railway entrance improvements, which I have been discussing with them for 2 years. One thing, the trains are faster, but the organisation isn't. So you can speed up. I'm looking forward to that. Catherine's on the same thing about new schools. What we forget about infrastructure, it's not just roads. You've got to have places for people to be educated. This is on the main road into the town that we've put the investment into. King's Court is an office development. Worryingly now, we're losing office space to conversion to residential. We lost 25%. So we're now starting buying up offices to stop the conversions to residential, and this is a private sector speculative office. This is St. Dunstan. It's not a church. It was a church. Church moved. So that's our own housing company building that. The station is just 50 yards to the north, or meters if you're into modern. So that's a start, and we get 100 stories over the station. It'll be fine. This is adjacent to the station. So our tower is to the left. That's what we're building now. This was our competition with an organization called Coplan. Meeting them next week. Legal's nearly completed. Again, get a decent... But look at all this waste. Look. Just such a waste. I thought, what a nice garden and some nice buildings over, if only we could be enlightened. Yeah. Hornby trains go under tunnels. I don't understand why the rest don't, so that's, we'll work on that. Goldsworth Road is, again, adjacent to the railway. This is all on the north side. That was done by Wilmot Dixon, now by Eco World from Malaya. Energy infrastructure. You've all talked about growth. Energy infrastructure is useless in the southeast. So we are in the process of building our own power generation stuff. We've already got one power station, just building another. And I know Network Rail will have an issue. Get more trains on that thing. Yeah, energy infrastructure isn't up to running that many trains that quick. Gets too hot. So you need to build more energy infrastructure along the way for our growth. This is a little challenging to my planning. The church is just over here, so we thought we'd do a spire-like, spire-like tower. So that's just on its way into planning. This is critical to us, our growth and that for Enterprise M3, and Solent in a way. We can get a 40% increase here if we could just get on and do the development. So we've paid Network Rail $680,000 to start to do some of the advanced design because Treasury is so slow in allocating the money. And the object of the exercise will be to grow that junction. It'll be benefit for all of us, at least in the Enterprise M3 zone, and it's critical to Woking's future. Like others, I've got to get my bid in. So I'm looking for more money, Kathy. Unusual for that, isn't it? But Enterprise M3 and Surrey County Council have helped us, so this is, hopefully we'll get that through this housing infrastructure process, which does those. We've said 3,000 homes. We think we can get, if Network Rail can play with us properly, we reckon we can get that up to 6,000 on the south side, mainly on Network Rail land, and then they'll get some money to build the infrastructure. But I want to make sure they do that in Woking, not anywhere else. And this is critical for us. Future support for growth. Rail junction, done. Road connectivity. And then thank you very much for listening. But that, when that's done, when we finished, you'll be able to see Woking from the Shard. Thank you very much.